2 years ago, the Age of Apocalypse was announced, and today, myself, along with all the other Envoy content creators, get the privilege of announcing the next Age of storyline coming to Marvel Strike Force. So if you want to know what that is, then join me in this video. What's going on, everyone? I'm BPG and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, I make content for Marvel Strike Force, normally one video per week, normally around the events that happen within the Marvel Strike Force game. But sometimes we get content like this, which I have to, I would be silly not to cover. If you find this video helpful, or if you like this video, please do consider liking, subscribing. It really helps me out in the channel. And if you're new around here, why not pop a comment down below? Let me know you're new around here. And I'd love to get to know you as part of the community. So the question is, what are ages? Well, ages are the glue that connects the upcoming content in Marvel Strike Force. And it also informs the character choices for the next year. So this is going to be spanning the whole of next year, pretty much. Or this year and next year. And while everything won't be directly related to whatever the whatever the age is about, the majority of the characters and the events building up to it will be directly tied into the Marvel Universe spanning year-long story. And this year-long story will lead to a new Chase character. And now you're asking, BPG, what is this new age? Put us out of our misery. Let us know, what is this new age? Well, the next age that we are going to have in Marvel Strike Force is the Age of X. This is going to be a year-long story connecting all the events in Marvel Strike Force to the release of the next major Chase character. Some of you might know what this is already. Some of you might guess from this Age of X, but there's a few questions I want to answer first before I let you know who the character is. And I think the first question you're going to ask is, will the Age of X be like the Age of Apocalypse? Well, I'm happy to say that, in a word, no, it is not going to be like the Age of Apocalypse. Scopely learned a lot from doing the Age of Apocalypse, and mostly learned a lot about supporting player agency. They found that through the Age of Apocalypse, that the meta got very stale because we were all building the same 23 characters plus our raid teams and that. And so the meta got very stale in regards to PvP and everything like that. So it wasn't, although it was a very exciting time to be playing Marvel Strike Force, this story of Apocalypse and the chase for the characters like Morgan Le Fay, like Rogue, like Red Hulk, like Archangel. They were all amazing, and their teams were brilliant and great for different game modes, but we were all building the same thing. And so what they want to do is help with player agency a little bit. There will be legendaries required for the new Chase character and other teams that will be collected to the overall story of Age of X, but they are not going to be designed to be combined into an Apex team like it was beforehand. So without further ado, let me introduce you to next year's, or this year's, the upcoming year-long Chase character that is going to be the end goal of Age of X. It's none other than Professor Xavier. He's going to be a new tier 0 or S tier character who is going to be released in early 2025. He will be a true plug and play character, and you will have the opportunity to theory craft with him. He will also have the X-Men tag, which is going to be really nice with some of those recently updated X-Men that we've just had reworked, and also the Extreme X-Men team. So the Age of X is going to be kicking off in the first week of April. They're going to be releasing an Age of X event, which is going to be a mini event campaign with rewards tuned for new and returning players. This event is going to have no requirements, and it sets up the story leading directly to the showcase event and the year-long story to come. And this story, to start off with, Professor X is obviously one of the most important figures within the Marvel Universe. And the story that they're going to start with is trying to answer the question, where has the most powerful telepath on Earth been in this time that Marvel Strike Force has been around? So in the last 6 years, where has Professor Xavier been? Why hasn't he come to the game? So here we have some initial concept art. Now, it was brilliant to see this in our Envoy call the other week. I was really excited about seeing Professor Xavier. He's an influential character within the Marvel Universe and one of the most influential series of, the X-Men series of comics is probably one of the most influential on most people. If you haven't read an X-Men comic, where have you been all this time? So they have decided that they're going to go with a standing version of Professor Xavier. And from all the possible versions from the artwork that they did, they are going to go with option 1. He's going to be wearing a black suit with blue stripes and that Cerebro helmet that we've seen. This is like the Age of Krakoa that they're currently in the comic book. So if you haven't checked that out, do go and have a look. That age is due to come to an end soon in the comics. So, but do check that out. The Age of Krakoa, Professor Xavier is brilliant. Some of you are going to be asking, why haven't we got a wheelchair version of Professor Xavier? And there are 2 answers to this. The first answer is that it's down to technical limitations. We can't say too much, but there are a few technical limitations which create Professor Xavier from being made into a wheelchair. So that's technical limitations within the game itself. Also, it's really important to highlight that some of the attacks within Marvel Strike Force are brutal. And I know this is just a game, but seeing Professor Xavier getting beaten up in a wheelchair probably isn't something that they want to showcase as well. So unfortunately, no Professor Xavier in a wheelchair. But we do get a standing version of Professor Xavier. And I, for one, would rather have Professor Xavier in the game than not in the game at all. And here we have another bit of concept art for Professor Xavier. This is the second stage. So what I showed you there before was the first stage of concept art. This is the second stage of concept art. So this is where they go over what sort of materials they're going to use for the character itself, how they're going to make it come out in the game. And as you can see, what I said earlier, we've got this black with blue striping and the Cerebro helmet. And the blacks are really cool because they are differentiated by what types of material they're made out of. So whether it's a shiny black, whether it's a matte black. So that's how they're going to get that differentiation on screen as to what it looks like. And that lens, that helmet lens reference that they've got there, which is going to be on the X of the Cerebro, is looking amazing. And here is the final sort of mock-up of what Professor X is going to look like in the game. So this is a wireframe, they call this, I believe. And this is a 360 wireframe, so this is going to show you exactly what he is going to look like in game. Obviously, we don't have any gameplay footage yet for this or anything like that. No doubt that will come soon enough, so keep an eye on your favourite content creators for that. So as I've said, Age of X is a framework or a story that is going to connect all the events together narratively. Now, new and returning players should be able to hop into the game, play the events that they love, and enjoy the Age of X story without having to play the catch-up game. So it sounds like also they're trying to make Professor X accessible to everyone, no matter whether you are a long-standing player, a new player, or whether you've had a bit of a break and are coming back to play this game. And I, for one, can say this game is probably in one of the best places it's been in the last couple of years. So certainly the last year and a half that I've been playing the game, it's in the best place it's been since I started playing. So now would be the time to come back if you are coming back, especially with Professor Xavier on the horizon. Now, some of you are going to ask, what about Dark Dimension 7? Now, yes, this opens later on today, and it's still new content we haven't yet gone through. Dark Dimension 7 is for now. That is what we need to focus on right now as we are. As players, Dark Dimension 7 is like the most important end game thing that we can be doing. However, they wanted to get out about the Age of X so that we can be prepared going forwards. So we know that there is a year-long event coming that we're going to be having to do a little bit for. So this isn't a shelf Dark Dimension 7, but this is be a bit careful about what you do with Dark Dimension 7, because there's going to be extra things you're probably going to need to build for this Age of X event as well. So what did you think? Are you excited to get Charles Xavier into your roster? I know I certainly am. Why not let me know in the comments down below? Again, if you found this video helpful, why not like, subscribe, share it with your alliance mates? And until next time, everyone, stay positive.